Okay, hello everybody. I believe we are live. Welcome to our bonus Q&A call. We didn't know if we were going to be able to do a Q&A call yet, and this morning we decided to make some room and make it happen because we want to answer some of your questions. We had such an incredible event on Monday and Tuesday, Unlock Your Greatness. If you haven't had a chance yet to go back and watch the replay from day 1 or 2 or get into the worksheets from days 1 and 2, I really want to encourage you to do that this weekend. You can go through it as many times as you want, but those replays are coming down on Monday. So enjoy that. And for now, I have the questions that you've put in the group so far on my phone. I'm also watching the live chat. So if you have a chat from right now, or if you have a question from right now moving forward, just go ahead and put it in the live chat. I can see both. I also have some questions that I'm going to ask for myself. So, Arash, how are you doing?
I'm great, Mykie. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Happy to be here with you. And I've got some questions for you. Are you ready to get started?
I am.
All right, let's do it. My first question is, we talked this week about unlocking your greatness. What does that mean to unlock or unleash greatness in you? Is that something that anyone can do, or is it something that you only do whenever you're down and out, or something that you wait till a certain point to do, or what does that really mean?
Well, first thing you have to do is understand I can't give you greatness. I can't give you confidence. It's already inside of you. And our job is to unleash it. Unfortunately, most people never unleash it because they never make a commitment to go all in and do whatever it takes. And it's what activates greatness is to go all in. So the biggest lie people tell themselves is I'm all in. Well, if all in is not followed by action, it's not all in. And I want everybody to look since Tuesday, what have your action steps been? You know, you're going to get a good sign if you're just listening to it to gather more information. I'm not interested in giving more information to people. I want them to implement the information so they create massive results. But it requires us to go all in. Then if we go under the hood of that, how many times have you told yourself, I'm going all in, and you never acted? And that's what most people do. That's what the masses are doing. And that's why from one year to the next, they have the same results. They have the same frustrations. We have to set ourselves up to win. And let's ask a different question. Why would you not bet on yourself? You have everything inside of you dying to come out. Why would you not go all in with yourself? You want to ask that question. See, how can anyone bet on you until you bet on yourself? And ask yourself, this one simple exercise we give that we said, why don't you set up a strategy session with one of my top coaches? Did you do that? Oh, they're trying to sell us a program. Oh, no, it's detachment. Yes, if we're going to help you, we have to work with you. I can motivate you for a couple days, but over a 6-month period, I can transform you. But did you do that action step? Or were you afraid? Remember, it takes commitment and courage. And I want to put this out right away because where the biggest thing people lack is confidence. They let somebody or something steal their confidence from years ago. And confidence is no different than greatness. It's inside of you. But the only way to activate it is to go all in, bet on yourself, be brave, build courage, and stretch your edges of getting out of your comfort zone.
Raj, why do you think, or what do you think stops people from going all in, or why are they not going all in?
Because they don't believe in themselves. They think, oh, I'll just read this book. I'll just study it. Well, we have to get explicitly honest with ourselves. And we have to understand there's a simple way to create massive jumps, and you've got to surround yourself with the people who've already performed that result. I did that 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was at a point that I was reading the books, studying things online, nothing changed. And my mentor told me, well, you're coming from it from your paradigm, even when you're reading the book. He said, what you don't have is direction. He said, the only thing people are missing is direction. And what I discovered over time, Mykie, it's the biggest cheat code is to put yourself in an environment that you get the proper direction. But most people don't understand it. They don't understand it where they don't make that next move. They don't take that next action step, because I said it earlier in the week, unless you have a definite commitment, a definite want, like this is what I want more than anything else, you're going to wilt back to the old program, because the program is controlling us all day unless we have a big want. Then the want overcomes the program and you do whatever it takes.
Raj, we have a client who has certainly unlocked greatness this year. He has transformed in so many ways, but he's also created such a ripple effect, bringing people with him who is unlocking greatness. Do you want to tell his story? I bet you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Wendell. You know, I spoke with Wendell this morning, actually. Wendell came in. I'll never forget it. January 2nd, I talked to him this year. And it was the first of the year. And he said, I really want to create freedom. He said, will it work? I said, I don't know. Are you going to do what I tell you? And he said, if I do what you tell me, can you guarantee it? I said, I guarantee it. If you follow my direction, it will change. And I said, what do you want? What does freedom mean to you? I'll never forget this. And he said, I want to get out of my corporate job and I want to live life on my own terms. Within 4 months, he was out of his corporate job. Now, his whole personality changed. His whole body is reshaped, because then all of a sudden his image changed, and now he hired a nutritionist. He hired a coach in the fitness industry. But now he's living his life on his terms. And when you said he brought people, he's brought like 15 people, because everyone watched him and they said, what have you done? Yeah, and we're coaching them. But here's the thing that I'm proud of Wendell, because he was scared. But he did it even though he was scared. That's what I did. See, but you have to make that next move. His dissatisfaction was much greater than holding himself back with fear. And a lot of people are not living the way they want to live because they're holding themselves back. But here's the interesting thing. There's a price you pay. I said it during the event. And you've got to ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price? See, everybody wants what the top 1% have. They want to experience what the top 1% have that are experiencing, but they have to commit like the top 1%. And that's where people wilt.
That's so good. So he's a prime example of someone who committed not based on when it was convenient or if the outside circumstances were perfect or if there was no obstacle in his way, but he committed no matter what to doing whatever you said. Talk about commitment for a minute. You briefly went over it at the beginning, but I want you to go a little bit deeper on commitment.
Well, commitment is an emotional connection where you're all in, and you only have to be all in once. That's what activates it. Then you recommit every day. Every day is day one. And you'll know when you have a commitment because you're not saying, oh, I already know this. You're very humble and hungry to get better. Your actions do all the talking. Your decisions do all the talking. Your disciplines and habits do all the talking. But it starts with, what do I really want? He wanted freedom. And he had very little confidence at that time. And he'd be the first to tell you that. Now he oozes with confidence. Well, because the confidence he always had. It was just robbed because he was suppressing it. And once he expressed it, everything started to unfold in him. See, decision is so important because whatever questions I answer, it's not going to happen without decisions. And we talked about it during the event. Whatever we plant grows. So the decisions and choices we're making is growing inside of us. And that influences our conscious thinking. And it alters our vibration, and our vibration dictates what we attract. So when somebody's all in, it is a strong commitment. It is like, it tells the universe, I am willing to do whatever it takes, and the universe conspires on our behalf to make it a reality.
This next question, how do I motivate myself to take action?
You got to do it now, right away. Do it now. If you don't take action, you're never going to get to where you want to go. It's very simple. Stop thinking and being. Stop thinking, overthinking, letting your analytical mind, and take action right away. Whatever it is, burn this in your mind. 3 words. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Once you do, you're changing your self-esteem. As you change your self-esteem, you're changing your identity, and you're operating on a much different frequency. Stop overthinking and be brave. How do you get brave? By action, by doing something that is uncomfortable. What is uncomfortable for you right now? In a few weeks are going to be super comfortable, but you know what's going to be impacted? Your results. What's going to be impacted? Your character. Stop waiting.
All right, this next question. What was the thing that helped you to make the shift from being stuck to succeeding?
Well, I had a big why, and I was failing at the biggest level at this point, but my why was so strong. I could have easily taken another job because I got offered it. But what stopped me was I went all in with myself. Regardless of the appearances, I said, I know what I want. I am not willing to settle for less. And that's what started the whole thing. Then I found a mentor a day later. Literally a day later, I found a mentor, and I knew my way wasn't working. And he told me, and he said, do exactly what I tell you to do. And I remembered asking him, would it work? And he said, if you do what I tell you, it'll work. And I did it to the letter, exactly what he told me to do. I did things that I never imagined. I got so uncomfortable. And within 3 months, I went from earning nothing to 10,000 a month. Within 7 months, I was earning 25,000 a month. By the end of the year, I think it was 35. Within a year and a half, year and 3/4, I earned my first million. I would have never believed that. But I knew my way wasn't working. And I remember telling him, I'll never forget this. I remember telling him, I said, I've been studying your material, other people's material. I've been to seminars, nothing has changed. And he said, you don't know this, you know about it. I'll never forget that. He said, you don't know it, you know about it. He goes, all I have to do is look at your results. Our results always tell us. And this is for the people who are like me. I studied it for 3 years, got no results. Then to answer the question, then all of a sudden, I committed at the highest level, and I got the right mentor, and I chose in for myself. And it wasn't just getting the mentor, it was doing what he suggested I to do. And that's when everything changed. See, I always say one idea changed my life. The first idea was I bet on myself, even when the circumstances were very rough for me. The second big idea is I hired a mentor, and I committed to doing exactly what he said. The third thing I did is I started changing where he thought I needed to change. And I focused on that one change at a time. I wasn't focusing on 1,000 changes.
All right, this next question is actually a nice follow-up to that. What is the most valuable thing you learned from Bob?
The most valuable thing. That's a hard one. That is a hard one because I learned so many valuable things. I would tell you, in this moment, what comes to me, because you've got to understand, we were at each other's hip for 15 years. So I learned a lot of valuable things. But I would tell you, and the best thing I learned was never settle and set significant goals for yourself. And he used to always tell me, he said, whatever you're doing, your environment is so important. And so we would always talk about environment, what I needed to release from my environment, and how to serve. I'm giving you a few things. He taught me how to serve at the biggest level. And he taught it to me by his example. He was the most generous person you'll ever meet. I'll tell you guys a funny story. So I'm at his house, and I'm a big New York Yankees fan. And he has a picture on his wall, framed, of Mickey Mantle, signed. And I said, oh my God, I love the Yankees. So he gets the frame off the wall, gives it to me. And he goes, it's yours. And he goes, but my deal is, don't sell it. Don't give it to anybody. This is for you. So then he calls me. He goes, I got to tell you this story. And I said, sure. He goes, Linda thought somebody stole something from our house. He goes, where? What did they steal? He goes, there was a frame here. He goes, no, I gave it to Arash. And I still have it and where I have all my frames in my house. But that makes me laugh because within a second, he just was so generous. He was so generous. I love him so much.
I love it. That's a good story. All right, this next question. How, when you are not where you want to be and in a position to do the things you wish with friends, go out and socialize, etc., due to financial limitations, and you're doing the work to change things, what do you say so that you don't become a social outcast because you can't hang around with people who have plenty of money until you have money to pay your way and be involved? No one wants people who don't pay their way, if you get the meaning, and we're meant to be with people we admire. No short way to ask that.
Well, I'd just be very honest about it. I'll say, I don't have it right now. And I'm aware I don't have it. You got to get your ego out of the way and say, I'd love to come, but I'm not able to do what you guys do right now. I'm working at it. And I would use this as fuel for me, that I've really got to put my foot on the gas and surround myself with the right people that I will invest in to teach me how to do it. And that could be advice. That could be getting the direction. But until you do, you got to understand there's a program going on inside of you. The results, no different than what Bob told me, the results are telling us a story. And we can change it, though. I don't want you to feel bad about this, but this is a time where you want to use it to make a definite decision that you are never going to be in this position again. I was in that position. I could tell you I was in that same exact position. And I remember saying, this is no way to live. That's what I told myself. And I used it for fuel. So I would use it for fuel. But I've never lost any friends because of that back in the day. And I was very transparent. The one thing I think we all want to do is stop pretending to be somebody we're not. Say the truth. See, if we get explicitly honest with ourselves and then ask ourselves other questions, what do they have that I don't, that they can afford it? Nothing. Nothing. They have awareness. They're doing things in a certain way. Now, I would ask you, whoever asked this question, are you really getting out of your comfort zone every day? Excuse me. Are you stretching your edges? See, until we get out of our comfort zone, nothing changes. When we get out of our comfort zone, we stretch our limits. So we're stretching our awareness. And now instead of attracting in a box like this, we're attracting in a box like this. And that demands growth. And that's where you grow. You don't grow studying, you gain awareness studying. And then you implement that awareness through the doing. And that's where winning happens, where you mix the studying and the doing with a certain attitude. So forget about it, because right now, these results you have right now is based on your past beliefs, decisions, and behaviors. So I encourage you to make bigger decisions now, have more confidence in yourself, and you may have to fake it until you make it. Operate with a greater amount of swagger. That's the highest attitude. That's not arrogance. That's confidence, because you have it inside of you, but stop letting the results tell you that you're not confident. This is where you have, I'm not done yet. So this is where you have to change the program. And the program is changed through action. It's not just changed through thinking. There's 3 steps. You think, you feel, you step out and act. Most people do the thinking and they'll study it, right? But they don't transfer it into acting. The thinking automatically turns into a feeling, but if it stops there and they don't step out of their comfort zone and act, it's delusion.
Gotcha. All right, just for everybody who's joined since I gave the brief welcome, I have the questions that were on the post on my phone. I can also see the questions that are coming into the live chat. So if you have a question from this moment forward, go ahead and put it on the live chat. I can see both, and we're going to get to as many as we can. All right, Arash, this next question. I'm starting to more fully understand that when thinking about our goals, we must think from the end, not to the end of our goal. Please help me fine-tune my thinking. With my daily mental rehearsal manifestation process, I am deliberately setting a deadline of December 24th, 2024. And at the same time, I'm stating that I'm so happy and grateful now that I have it already. Is the deadline timeline important in terms of measuring progress, or should deadlines be ignored? I have a conflicting feeling that setting the due date makes it more real and draws a line in the sand, but also I don't feel like I don't have it yet.
Okay, so you're not fused with it yet. So the deadline is a direction we're giving to your subconscious mind and to the universe. And I always set the deadline, but I'm never attached to the deadline. It's actually it's a very good question, because a lot of people get stuck with this. what you want to do is it's already done. Creation's already finished. So you see yourself right now already experiencing what you'd experience had you achieved it. The deadline, you could say December 24th, 2024, but say December 24th, 2024 or sooner. But in the moment, you're already there. And then this is where you've got to build your mindset of what that person would think, feel, and act like had they already achieved that goal. See, a lot of people are separate from the goal. They go, oh, it's not till next December. It's in the future. Nope. All you're using is 2 to 4% of your power. We want to use that 96 to 98%. That's your subconscious. Any idea that is the dominant idea in your subconscious mind is going to express itself. So this is where I talked a lot about on this training, the Power of Five. This is where you ask yourself every day, did I make decisions from my goal? Okay, yes. Did I develop the disciplines that came from my goal? Did I think in a certain way from the goal? Did my actions align with the person who achieved that goal? Did my attitude align with that? Did I constantly focus only on what I wanted all day long? And then are my standards aligned with that? Well, that's what you do, and you're bringing the future and the present every day. So you're experiencing it. This is what Earl Nightingale was talking about, where he said, we become what we think about all day long. He said, it's not hard work. All you have to do is think, what would you be experiencing? And then with your eyes closed, you do that with what this person told me. I don't know if it's a he or she, through mental rehearsal. But then the rest of the day, you act like that. Exactly what you're mentally rehearsing, you think, feel, and act from the Power of Five. And then you're going to believe it on a subconscious level.
This next question, I'm beginning to understand the value in leveraging my time, but I'm feeling resistance in the trusting of handing over responsibility to others. How would you coach me in that space? And how do I best communicate the standard I expect for the work projects to be done?
It's very normal. Anybody who's letting go of something because they know they could do it better. But what you got to ask yourself is, do you want to create what's good or what's great? Leverage, the person who is leveraged is the person who needs nothing. And braid tattoo this, need nothing, attract everything. But your job is to train the people to be even better than you are at that thing. And now you're going to free up a significant amount of your time so you could focus on what's great instead of what's good. But listen, when I first started training people, I knew I could do it better. I knew I could do it better, but that wasn't the deal. But I may have worked harder in the beginning until I got them up to speed at a certain level of standard, and then it took off. And then I could go work on bigger ideas. So just understand, if you want to practice leverage, you've got to let go of control. And you've got to understand that in the beginning, they're not going to be doing it your way. But in the end, it's going to free you up significantly to go work on creating significant, and I mean significant, I'm talking 10x, 15x jumps by doing this.
This next question, how can I work on my imagination? When I picture my goal, it is coming from what I already know and what is already here. I'm having a hard time imagining beyond my senses. Well,
you've got to detach from your senses. You've got to build it. It's like a muscle for going to the gym. Before you go into your before you consciously and deliberately go into visualization, write down the 3 things that you'd be experiencing had you achieved your goal. And then close your eyes and start experiencing that. Right now, your imagination is dormant within you on a conscious level where you're consciously using it. I want it to be so strong, but it's no different if we were going to go, let's say you were never a runner and you started running. Well, in the beginning, you wouldn't be able to run as far as you will if you ran for 30 days. It's the same thing, but we've got to stop being attached to the image. We want to neutralize it. Start off by staring out in space. And why I say that is because you'll go and neutralize your analytical mind right away. And as you do that, you're going to open yourself up to really experiencing what you want.
Okay. This next question, what can I do if I stop feeling, I do not feel anything at all when I'm doing the every 3 hours exercise?
Well, you're not connected to the goal. So ask yourself, is that what I really want? You've got to get emotionally involved in the goal. So if you're not emotionally involved in the goal, it's like checking a box. So your job is to get emotionally involved. So when you're not in the feeling, ask yourself, go back to what I started this with. Is this a wish or a hope, or is it an all-in, full-fledged commitment? When it's a commitment, it's a done deal. This is what I want more than anything else. This is where I'm going. And you say, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am doing whatever it is. I'm so happy and grateful now that I am financially free doing what I love and loving what I'm doing. And then you see yourself financially free. So your job is to get emotionally involved, because if you're not, you're just keeping it in your analytical mind, and it's not transferring to your subconscious mind, which it has to get a change in results.
This next question, what would you say are the top 3 to 5 skills to master?
It depends what you're wanting to master, what the goal is. They're different skills. Number one, that's a hard question to answer because I don't know what skills. Like for me,
I'm assuming they mean like mindset, like decision, commitment, but because that's unattached to their specific vocation.
Well, for mindset, if I said what are the top 3 things you have to master, I would tell you it's kind of tough. There's more than 3, but I would say standard, discipline, attitude, and image. I would give you 4.
Yeah.
But they all work together. You can't build your attitude without discipline. And you can't have a great discipline without a great attitude towards discipline. Your image and identity create your results. Well, what creates your image and identity? Your standard. And your whole image is the most important picture we see of ourselves. So they all are very essential to creating a massive quantum leap.
Okay, this next question, how do I keep my mind stronger than my emotions? Currently, my emotional mind puts me in black and white thinking and feeling mode. There is a contradictory thing to reach or achieve a goal. One needs to have emotionalized or add feelings to those affirmations and goal cards.
Well, you have to discipline your mind. Right now, you're falling victim to your mind. And we have to build disciplined emotionalism. That's something I teach in our world-class wealth event quite specifically. Here's the thing. Either you're disciplining your mind or your mind is disciplining you. If you're constantly being disturbed by the outside, your mind is disciplining you. And we want to discipline our mind. We cannot be free until we control our emotions. And how you discipline your mind is you want to start practicing developing your higher faculties. Your faculties create your environment. So if I look at my results, if you look at your results, Mykie, everybody looks at their results. Their results are a direct reflection of how they're being influenced by their higher faculties. So when you start understanding how to use them, how to develop them, like how to develop your perception, it's something significant that will change your results. See, most people go, oh, I got perception. I understand. I've seen this before. I watch it from Bob. Now I'm watching it from you. No, you have to learn how to do it. And I had to learn how to do it. See, this is why I always say you've got to go deep. You've got to do that deep internal work and that deep intrinsic work to develop your perception. I mean, I spend hours on it, teaching it in our Quantum Leap coaching because it has such an impact in our results. But you have to understand how to develop your will, how to develop your reasoning faculty. These are all very important. And once you get it, you have it the rest of your life. And so you want to, I was living outside in. I can really understand what you're saying because I wasn't in control of my mind. My mind was in control of me. And I had it reversed. And once I developed that perception in my faculty in a certain way, everything changed. See, you want to understand the outside is a reflection of what's going on in here. So we've got to go in here and remove the scarcity, remove the fear, remove the doubt, remove the procrastination. And once we do, now we have a pure heart. Now it's aligned so your analytical mind's out of the way. So on top of your spiritual DNA is all that scarcity. So we've got to remove the scarcity. And scarcity only exists when we give it power. So when we give it power and start focusing on need, that creates scarcity. We come from two places all day long, and you want to catch yourself. Am I coming from want or need? Want creates abundance. Want develops your standards. Want creates a world-class life. Needs create scarcity. Needs create excuses. Needs create procrastination. Needs create double binding messages. Needs create an unfulfilled, uninspired actions that you're taking. But that's why you got to connect to your wants.
Okay. This next question, I've heard you mention the power of 5. What is that?
Well, this is where we got to get really, really coachable. I mean, if you were watching it, I went over it several different times. The power of 5 is every decision you make is from your goal. If you're not making a decision from your goal, you're out of harmony with your goal. Every attitude comes from your goal. So if you're in scarcity, that's not a good attitude. That's not coming from your goal. Every discipline comes from your goal. So you can measure it. Every standard comes from your goal. And then every part of your image comes, what would the person who would have achieved this do this? So we want to get really good at practicing this. If you practice this for the next 90 days, it's going to change your life. I will tell you that. It prevents you from drifting. But the power of 5, we've got to do repetition. Repetition is what is illogical to our programming, and repetition is what causes us to act. Repetition is what fuses with your want. Repetition turns your want into a desire. So you want to fall in love with that.
Okay, this next question, what is the difference between philosophy and standard?
They're very different. Philosophy sets up your standard. Philosophy is your way of thinking. So you have unconscious philosophies right now. See, I have a philosophy, if somebody's not all in, or if I'm not all in, I'm all out. It has no commitment. I have a philosophy that I can achieve anything if I commit to it. I have a philosophy that once I'm in control, everything else is in my power. I have a philosophy of how important leverage is in my life. I have a philosophy on mentorship. But your philosophy is your way of thinking. Standard is your commitment. So you have to be deliberate about your philosophy. I went in, I think it was 2 weeks ago. If you go and listen to it, I went deeply for about 25 minutes on our podcast, 7 Figure Standard Podcast, talking about this. Our philosophy determines the way we're going to live. And that's what philosophy is.
Okay. All right, this next question, how do I manifest my ex back after a year of no contact? He just ghosted me after a few months. I found out he lives with someone else. I still can't get over it. What would your advice to do? I want to be confident again as I used to be, but this completely changed me.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get your ex back. That might not, we can't violate the laws of the universe. We can't manipulate somebody else's wants. So my advice to you is release it. And if he comes back, great. And tell yourself, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am completely happy. I have a great partner and it feels great. And it's either that or something better. But we can't violate the rules of others. So I would absolutely release that and start healing your heart, because until you heal your heart, you're going to keep attracting different things that you don't want.
Okay, this next question, what is the best way to develop sales skills? I'm not currently in sales, but I want to start actively practicing this skill.
Selling is a transfer of belief. That's what selling is. So you've got to develop your mindset. You want to understand this philosophy inside and out, and you want to become a great listener. Most people are speaking to hear. You want to listen to understand, and you listen with your heart. You listen with your intuition. I think the best sales book that I've ever studied over the years is a book from Napoleon Hill called Selling You. A lot of people don't know this, but all of Napoleon Hill's work was on salesmanship, every book. And so I would study Selling You, and I would surround yourself and study people you admire who are really great in selling. We're selling all day long. When you say I'm not in sales, I don't believe it. Every day you're selling an idea, product, or service. You're selling yourself on Is today going to be my masterpiece? Or you're selling yourself on beating your personal best. So we're always selling, but you want to go deep. You want to go deep to understand communication. There's so many aspects of selling, but that's where I would start.
All right, thanks, Raj. This next question, what is the difference between people who are high achievers and those who are not?
What is the difference is their behaviors. They're mentors. There's no high achievers that don't have mentors. I promise you that. And if they are high achievers, they did it unconsciously. I remember I met someone, Mykie, several years ago, and he was a multiple seven-figure earner. Then he lost it all. And he said to me, he said, I was just in the right place at the right time. Well, that's not true. He was an unconscious competent, and he says, I don't know how to get it back. And I said, well, you've got to understand what you did to create that. It wasn't because you were in the right place at the right time. You had certain beliefs, you had certain disciplines, you had certain standards at that time. He goes, you're right. And then I worked with him and we went deeply, and then all of a sudden he created that again. See, the people who are high achievers understand the opportunity cost. And you want to really understand the opportunity cost. It's a concept that each decision you make, you're paying the price somewhere else. See, the high achiever knows that every day matters. The high achiever knows that the price for mentorship is minuscule compared to the reward. The high achiever are always working on getting better. The high achiever is very careful about their environment. The higher achievers are great learners. So those are some key examples of high achievers.
Arash, that also makes me think of your story. So take you back 15 years, 16 years, you were trying to do it yourself for 3 years, watching YouTube videos, going to seminars, reading books. And it wasn't until that week where you had lost your job, you had a chance to either say yes and go all in and get mentored by Bob, or not, or go back to a job. What made you go all in? Were you ready for the opportunity, or was there something that made you more ready to say yes to the opportunity and go all in as opposed to not?
I feel like looking back at it, I was broken for a little while. You know, it wasn't lack of effort. It was lack of understanding. It was lack of awareness. I was doing too many things. What happened for me, and the best way I can express it, is I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so it didn't matter to me how much it cost. I had to get really creative to come up with the money to get mentored. I remembered I had to get super creative. But I knew my way wasn't working, and that's why I was all in. When I say this, I could have easily had another six-figure job like this. And I'm not saying it, I got offered, but I said no. Sometimes you have to say no to comfort and yes to what you want, and that's what I did. But I was all in. But here's the funny part. I can tell you, when I committed to do the mentorship, even though I was all in, I didn't believe it was going to work. Because for 3 years, nothing I tried worked. And I remember what shifted in me, I said, I'm going to do exactly what this man tells me to do. And I literally did it. And if you go watch YouTubes of Bob or this, he'll tell you that I was, if not his best student he ever had, one of his top students. And because he knew that whenever he told me to do something, it was a done deal. Most people are not doing that. They're coachable up to their paradigms. Why did I change that? I think I just believed that I had something more to do in my life. And I believe that for everybody. I tell people all the time, I know you could do it. They go, how do you know? You don't know me that well yet. I said, I know because I know what's inside of you. You have the same thing inside of you that anybody else does. What we have to do is develop courage to get started. We have to develop bravery to bet on yourself. Now, how do you do that? You have to do it. I can't do it for you. Nobody could do it for me. Bob didn't do it for me. He'd be the first to tell you that. But then all of a sudden we created this close kinship because he said I reminded him of where he was at my age and vice versa. But I will tell anybody this. It requires you to do that first step. What was that first step? The first step was getting on a call. If I didn't get on a call with him that day, nothing would have changed. And we had a mutual acquaintance and he got on a call with me. And I'll never forget it. He said, "Are you willing to do exactly what I tell you to do?" And I said, "Probably not." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I've never followed direction. I was a great starter and a bad finisher." And he said, "Oh, I can help you with that." He said that the reason you were is you didn't have the proper accountability in the proper direction. And then all of a sudden, I started gaining momentum because I started winning days, and that's when everything changed.
How did you get through that initial fear?
I think I was so dissatisfied that I said, "Screw it." Because listen, I was in a terrible situation financially. I always say the only great thing that I had going for me that at that time was my fiance, which is my wife now, you know. But I had a belief that this philosophy worked. I wasn't working it properly. And so I always had a level of courage about me. Like even going to when I was a kid, I wasn't worried about if I failed. I've already failed enough the last 3 years, but I didn't want to not do this one thing that could propel me. So it was like, I always thought I'm almost there. And this just took me to the next level. And you've heard that, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. I was ready. I was ready. And how you'll know if you're ready if you act on an idea. If you don't act on an idea, you're not ready to receive it. If you're rationalizing, you're not ready. But if you act, watch the magic unfold.
Okay, I have one more question for you that's my own, which is after you made that decision and you jumped in, were there moments of maybe I should have taken that, like moments of doubt, moments of, oh, maybe I should have taken that position. Oh, I wonder if I could still take that. Or was it just like no looking back?
I had a lot of moments of doubt. I had a lot. One of my doubts were because I started creating results pretty quickly. My doubt was, I wonder if it's going to continue. That was my doubt. And then I'd say, stop. And I'd say, focus. What I got really good at from the beginning was accepting and rejecting ideas. So I started conditioning myself in a certain way. And one of the things that I did in that moment is I put myself on the hook. I remember my wife she was pregnant at the time. She was going through her master's and she was working, but she was doing like 14-hour days. And I told her to quit. She goes, "Well, how can I quit? We don't have money." I said, "I'll figure it out." Because I knew she was working at both ends and it wasn't going to be good. And so I always put myself on the hook, and that's what I kept doing. I remember my first goal was so small. And I remember Bob told me, he said, "Oh, we got to change this. This is no good." And I said, "Well, what if I don't believe that I could do the other?" He said, "You don't need to believe it. You just got to do what I tell you. And you got to believe what I tell you to do." And then by the end, Bob and I would be on calls with clients when we were still working together. And he said, "You don't need to listen to me. Listen to Arash. He knows it just as well as I do." I said, "Why did you say that?" He says, "You do. I just have more experience because of the years I've been doing it." But he says, "You are so damn good at what you do." Well, I developed that greatness because I was a great follower. And before you can be a great leader, you have to be a great follower. I was a great student. Like I acted on ideas, but it always started with every day is day one. I had to commit first. That's why I can't express this enough. There's no feeling like going all in. There is no feeling like it. You are setting yourself up to win in the biggest way.
All right, this next question, how will I know that I have outgrown my environment?
You already know just by asking the question. You know when you've outgrown an environment because it's stale. It's not growing you. To me, it goes down to this. Whatever decision you're making, is it growing you or is it contracting you? If it's contracting you, you want to release it. Every decision you make, is it growing me to where I want to go or is it constricting me? If it's constricting you, you've got to release it. Hard no.
Okay. And this next question, how do I know if the voice I'm hearing is my paradigm or my intuition?
Intuition never comes from fear. Intuition is always neutral or from an inspired thought. So you'll know the difference. Paradigm, intuition never rationalizes. Intuition has no limits. Paradigm, rationalization. Stay comfortable. No stretching. So that's how you'll know.
Okay. Raj, what is the difference between attending a 2 day or 3 day or even 5 day event like this as opposed to getting like long-term 3 to 6 months mentorship?
Well, it's significantly different because in 2 days, there's only so much I can cover. I can't go deep. Within 6 months, I go with all of our clients to do that deep internal intrinsic work. And so it's very different. And then I teach them how to implement and how to properly use the direction I'm giving them in an effortless manner so they make it part of their identity. You can't compare the two. See, coaching is about bringing the potential out of the mentees. And when you do that, it creates massive shift. Massive shift. I was working this year with a gentleman. He came through a referral of mine. He has a construction company in Mexico. Great guy. He was a great guy when I first met him. And he didn't know me for anything. We just had one call, and he ended up doing our Quantum Leap coaching program. And in the beginning, I told him, I go, in the beginning, you're going to fight yourself because you haven't been around me enough. And I said, wait till after the first 60 days. After the first 60 days, taken off. And now he enrolled in our peak performers program. I said, and I didn't have to ask him. He goes, I want to continue working with you because of what's created. But everything around him has changed. Everything. Not in a little bit, but that's what mentorship does. But you have to do that deep internal work. We have to, for the rest of our life, we want to do that deep internal work because the reward is so much better than the price you have to pay.
Raj, the next step for someone to continue working with us or get into Quantum Leap coaching, world-class wealth, any number of our elite programs is to set up a strategy session with one of our coaches, like Monica, who they heard from this week. What does that call look like?
Well, that call, first of all, everyone should set out their schedule to do the call, regardless if you want to work with us or not, because the call is going to be a strategy on how you get from where you are to where you want to go, excuse me. And you're going to know what your gaps are. And we want to turn your gaps into freedom. A lot of people spend all their days in their gaps of what they don't want. We want to be neutral and observe our gaps. And then we're going to give you exactly what to do and how to do it. Now, I can guarantee one thing to anybody. Now, they want to do it, great. They don't, great. There's no attachment for me because I can only help people who really want to be helped. Not say they want to be helped, where they put themselves on the line and really say, I'm going all in with myself. Those are the people we can help. But that strategy session, you will leave better off and you will understand why you're where you are and what you have to do to get to where you want to go.
We always say that one call can change your life. One call changed your life. What do we mean by that?
Well, one call did change my life. When I had the call, personally, I had no intention of even doing it. I didn't even know that. I'd never talked to Bob. I didn't even know he did coaching, and I didn't even know how much it was. But that one call changed my life because it changed my perception of what was possible. And then I got the direction. For me, it's all about direction. See, too many people make a mistake. They keep going from one book to the next, one seminar to the next, one of our trainings to the next, but never acting on them. All you have to do is look at the people who act on them and the people who haven't, what their results are. They're significantly different. I can assure you that. So it all depends what somebody wants. Do you want to live a world-class life? Do you want to live a life that you have freedom? Do you want to live a life that you wake up every day feeling inspired? See, or do you want to just keep status quo? I always teach people, I taught it deeply in our world-class wealth event last month. I said, what got you here is not going to get you there. And the elite performer, the high achievers, I call them the peak performers, really understand the value of constantly stretching themselves. The people who are comfortable are afraid. Afraid of what? Until you bet on yourself, it's not going to get better. It's not going to randomly get better for yourself. You've got to stretch. You've got to put yourself in the right environment. You've got to take action. These are the price you have to pay to get from where you are to where you want to go.
Okay, one more question and then we'll wrap up for today. What do you mean by that, the price you have to pay?
Well, you have to pay the price to do that deep internal work for the outside to change. The outside doesn't change just randomly. And so you have to go in and remove the scarcity. You've got to develop the right disciplines. The challenge for people is, number one, they have a bad relationship with discipline, but they're practicing the wrong disciplines. And if you're one right now that is saying, I know I could do more and I'm not doing it, it's because you're letting the outside control you. There was something that stole your confidence. Your confidence is inside of you dying to come out, but it demands building a bigger idea of yourself. It demands putting the right mindsets together. It demands self-mastery. And that isn't hard work. In the beginning, it's tedious, but when you get the proper combination with the proper direction, it's effortless.
Absolutely. All right, Raj, give us your final thoughts as we wrap up this Q&A on Unlock Your Greatness, the Q&A, just all of it.
You know, I really enjoyed doing the event. I love teaching this. I taught a lot of new concepts at this event that are higher level. And when you get in elite programs with me, you're going to get a lot more higher concepts that do the deep internal work that nobody has heard me teach. So just remind yourself that you have everything inside of you. There's nothing inside of you that you need. You've got to unleash your greatness, and that chooses by being all in with your commitment. We've got to build your standards. We've got to build a new philosophy that's going to propel you forward. And what you're doing right now, you're planting inside of you. So if you're in inaction and you know who you are and you're not acting, you're not going to go where you want to go. But when you take action, because it's the start, Don Shula was a famous Hall of Fame football coach. He's passed now, but he used to say the start stops most people. Just understand the decisions you're making, the thoughts you're thinking at the proper standards is growing inside of you. Weak thought, weak growth. Or you're focusing on what you don't want and you're planning it inside of you and you're consciously doing it. So we've got to start disciplining and showing you how to create a world-class life so we can create the right thoughts, the right feelings, the right actions, the right environment, the right disciplines. And then 6 months from now, you're going to be our next Wendell. You're going to be our next Jennifer. You're going to be our next Amy. That's what you're going to be, and you're going to see how much your life changes.
So good. All right, Raj, thank you so much. Thanks all of you for joining us and submitting your questions. The replay from this Q&A will also be up in the group until Monday at the end of the day. We'll take all the replays down on Monday. So if you want to go back and rewatch days 1 or 2, do your assignment, schedule your strategy session. I put a link to the calendar in the comments so that you can go ahead and easily just book your call. You can do all of that right now before Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you all soon. Thanks, Arash.
Thanks, Mykie.